Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with some more Total War Warhammer discussions, but something a little bit different. You see, I've had a lot of DMs ever since the Scarbrand stuff came out, mainly because, well yeah, you can see here, you can pick up a Chainsword. This is of course if you go to the realm of Khorne, and you can get blessed with a certain item which has the following description. At the wielder's command, the teeth race down the blade, ripping apart armor and flesh as easily as if they were parchment. The beast hilt howls while it does so, and whines if left unsated. So yeah, a chainsword in Warhammer Fantasy, very, very strange, though a lot of people have been asking questions as to why this might be here, and I think that this might be the official first hilt for a Total War Warhammer 40k, which obviously would not be anytime soon, but they're hinting that something might be to come, as, well, you've got to keep it this way. There were no chainswords, even in the Realm of Chaos. The only time a weapon like that could even come into Warhammer Fantasy was in the very few circumstances where Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k were linked up, funnily enough, through the Realm of Chaos. Very old canon, very, very old canon. But why Total War Warhammer 40k? Well, the simple enough thing is they've seen a lot of money from Total War Warhammer. It's very obvious as there's a lot of players, and it's constantly high, and yeah, there needs to be a future type of fantasy game, which yes, this is sci-fi, but I'm imagining that Creative Assembly is not foolish enough to drop the Warhammer titles and Games Workshop wants the money. Imagine, this has become the most profitable Warhammer game in a long, long time because it's a long-standing series and so on. Games Workshop probably see this as, oh, if we can make this much money with Warhammer Fantasy, imagine what we could do with Warhammer 40k, our best-selling franchise. Obviously, with the main base game almost done, they're going to want the main team behind the base game to move on to the next project, which can take years and years. It's already been explained by Creative Assembly that they have multiple teams working on multiple things, so it's very likely that maybe they'll start preparing the basic ideas, concepts, and so on now when Warhammer 3 gets released. And obviously, we know that CA Sophia has been moved to the Warhammer 3 team. That kind of makes a lot of sense. Why would they be moving the Troy team here if the other team wasn't going to start moving after the base game is released? All they need is one team to work on DLC, don't they? There's a few things to take into mind here. There's always been mention, if you look at interviews between Total War partners such as myself and Creative Assembly staff, on how they want their relationship to grow with Games Workshop and how they see it lasting for many, many years. Eventually, Warhammer Fantasy, if they're stuck with 8th edition like they say, and just a few previous editions, well, that's gonna run out eventually. Even with a slow DLC cycle, it's gonna run out. We're pretty much almost done, as you've seen through all the different missing series videos, so that makes a lot of sense. Now, a lot of people would point towards Warhammer Age of Sigmar, but the Age of Sigmar setting is still in its teething process. It's still trying to establish it as its own unique setting, which, yes, it's doing fairly well now with 3rd edition, but we have to take into account that when it comes to Warhammer games, it's only around the 4th, 5th edition, more or less, that they finally get their proper footing. Plus, let's be very honest, for those who know Warhammer fans in general, they'll buy anything that says Warhammer 40k on it. Like, seriously. I know that sounds pretty generic, but it's true. They'll literally buy anything. It would likely be the biggest cash cow that we'd ever see, and yeah, I kind of see it happening. Now, of course, I don't see a Total War Warhammer 40k happening anytime soon. If anything, I'd say as soon as Warhammer 3 is released and they fix any day one issues and so on, they'll likely start moving the team. So likely before that, we'll start seeing possibly a Medieval 3, a Medieval 2 remaster, as they've just announced that they're putting Medieval 2 into mobile phones for some reason. I'm not too sure why. Just give us a Medieval 3 already. And then the second Three Kingdoms game, which kind of gives you a rough estimate of a timeline. You'd get Warhammer 3, obviously in 2022, a possible Saga game the next year, as they seem to do main title game, Saga, main title game, Saga, and so on. Then possibly Medieval 3, because I don't think that they'd be anywhere near the next Three Kingdoms game at this point, with then another Saga, the next Three Kingdoms, because that's been in development for a while now. That was confirmed by Creative Assembly in that whole taking the original Three Kingdoms to the back of the shed and shooting it in the head. Sorry, but I'm still kind of salty about that myself. And then possibly Saga before an eventual release of Total War Warhammer 40k, as that would kind of line up with the whole likely chance of 10th edition being there, as editions are normally lasting around, what, 3 years now? Possibly a bit longer given the recent circumstance of so many delays in Warhammer 40k. They could use that as perfect cross-marketing. As we know, they tried to do some cross-marketing with Warhammer 2, but you can't sell us the miniatures when there's only 5 of the miniatures. Sorry, bit of an end times PTSD moment, sorry. But this kind of sounds like the first hint. There have been hints before, but a Chainsword is not part of the Warhammer Fantasy universe, like I've said before. I've looked for it constantly. I'm telling you, this is definitely some sort of hint. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. But let me know what you guys think, and we'll start a bit of a discussion. I honestly think this is. I could be wrong, but I have been right so far. Remember, I was the one who said cafe was a thing long before the announcement, and then this happened. So, yeah.